Hello everyone, this is part 19 of What If Naruto Was Neglected and Escapes to Kumo, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. A date looked at the Jashinist with his Sharingan active. We are waiting on orders. If you attack any of the forts, then you will be captured by seals the same as last time. Until we can neutralize their defenses, our orders are to hold the line. Kakazu growled at his irritable partner, just shut up, Hidden. Once things escalate, you will have more S than you know what to do with. Hidden huffed, I am tired of waiting. Quote, a date rubbed his eyes wearily. He believed in the Uchiha supremacy, and he would follow Fugaku's orders, but was it necessary for him to babysit these two? That is enough out of the two of you. I will send you on a patrol tomorrow morning. Maybe you can find some S there. Hidden nodded and sat back down while muttering a prayer to Jashin. Kakazu reclined back in his chair and closed his eyes. A date returned to reading Ika Ika. He chuckled perversely as he thought that the Toad Sannin was actually good for something. He continued reading the salacious pages and hoped that his reading wouldn't be disturbed. Naruto walked out of the command center on the southern border of Kaminari no Kuni that held down Raijin Pass. It was one of the only access points to the country, and if anyone wanted to bypass it, then it meant a 50-mile detour to the west. This fort, Raijin Fort, held down the pass, and it was where Kumo stalled out the Yondaim's attack during the Third War. The mountains surrounding it were minefields full of explosive tags and other traps. The Konoha side of the border was a similar no-man's land. These factors led to the pass being kept in a stalemate for the first month of the war. Behind Naruto, Itachi, Samui, Mabui, Yugito, Kakashi and two squads of Bolt Anbu followed. They were going to make full use of the Eagles to break this stalemate. As Naruto exited the command center, he saw that the fort was abuzz with activity as the regular forces got ready to launch the follow-on operations once the signal was given. He entered the courtyard and weaved through the hand signs for his summoning jutsu. All activity halted as Georgia, Virginia, Texas and Tennessee appeared in the courtyard. He whistled and within a minute, Delaware flew down and landed next to Naruto. Naruto-sama, the plant creatures are present in the mountains. It is likely that they will report the flight of our warrior eagles. Delaware reported. Naruto nodded and scratched Delaware's head. It's all right. Itachi's crows have narrowed down our search area and we should be able to strike before they can properly raise defenses. Virginia was jealous of Naruto's attention to Delaware, and she nestled her head into his chest. Naruto, we are ready. We can cross that distance in 5 minutes. Naruto chuckled and scratched under Virginia's beak. Thanks, Ginny. All right, everyone knows their assigned tasks. He got confirmation. Good. If you are forced to dismount for any reason, then you are to activate your beacons. This is just a bombing run for most of you. If you are engaged by the Jinchuriki, you are to use your Hiraishin Kunai. If there are multiple Jinchuriki, I will send a clone for support. If we find the Akatsuki, they are Kos. Seals off, let's go. You are Ceres when you are in command mode, Ruto-kun. Hikari purred through the mind link with her hands already started to drift downwards. Thanks, Richan. Since we are at war, I was thinking we could use tonight to debut your return. Any thoughts? Hikari's sensual purr turned into a bee growl. Nothing could make me happier. The sooner we crush these petty mortals, the sooner I get to roast some pigs and overgrown cows. Naruto chuckled. All right, well, I am looking forward to it. Naruto answered as he hopped onto Virginia's back in front of Samui, Mabui and Itachi. Let's do this, ladies. 5 minutes later, Virginia, Tex, Rado and Tennessee circled the Konoha-held fort on the other side of Raijin Pass. Naruto was gathering natural energy while everyone else was raining down explosive hell on the forts. The panicked screams, burning fires and smell of death filled the night air and carried into the skies. Virginia dodged a bolt the size of a person before she screeched loudly and sent a series of winged blades at the emplacement. Naruto's eyes cracked open. I got them. Ginny, pull out and leave the assault to the others. Georgia will follow us when we separate. Destination is 2 miles south-southwest. Virginia banked out of her rotation in the attack while the other eagles continued the assault. The echoes of explosions sounded further and further away as Virginia and Georgia carried their riders, the elite strike team, towards their targets. Naruto rose out of his seated position, and he started flooding his body with chakra as his 5 tails flailed wildly behind him. A date's reading was disturbed by a plant creature that rose out of the floor. The Zetsu clone reported in immediately, the fort at Raijin Pass is under attack by eagles. The Kumo shinobi are preparing an attack. You are to get ready and move to reinforce the fort. Reinforcements from other locations will follow you. Yes. Hiden cheered as he jumped out of his chair and slung his 3-bladed scythe over his back. Finally, I get to some heathens to Jashin-sama. Kakazu wasn't so rearing to go. Do we know who is involved in the attack? Have we quantified the attacking forces? Kakazu's instincts were flaring. He was only in this for the money, and he honestly didn't have a good feeling about this war. On top of that, he was pretty much being held prisoner. Sure enough, a date made a hand sign and Kakazu's mind became cloudy as the loyalty seals kicked in. From the back of his mind, Kakazu wondered when the bastards were able to get such a seal on all 5 of his masks. That's what he got for working with a lunatic with aspirations of world domination. A date smirked as one of the most powerful shinobi in the world was subdued. The power of the Uchiha is absolute. Let's go. A date ordered dispassionately. The Zetsu clone chuckled and shook his head. Stupid humans, slaves to their own ambitions. Just hope they don't die. The Zetsu clone chuckled as it sank into the ground to take an overwatch position. Yugito, Kakashi, see, you guys are on mob cleanup with my clones. Keep them off of us. Itachi and Samui, you guys take Kakazu. Don't let your guards down. Samui, handle the religious fanatic. Remember that conventional means won't be enough to K him. Naruto ordered. Sure thing, babe. Go get M. Mabui said in a tone. Yugito growled aggressively and cracked her knuckles. If they don't put up a fight then you will have to give me a proper challenge, Reikage-sama. Naruto sweat dropped. We have this and a fort to clean up, Yugi-chan. Yugito scoffed, says the man taking all the big fish for himself. Oi, heathens, what the d are you chit-chatting about? Kakazu felt the trickle of sweat going down his back turn into a steady stream. Hiden, shut up. This is the Reikage we are dealing with. A date stepped in, shut up you two and just deal with your targets. Internally, a date had just demanded more chakra from the Sanbi than he ever had with the influence of his Mangekyo Sharingan. Were needed for the power to change the world. A date felt his body enveloped and for the first time he had 3 tails of the Sanbi's chakra waving behind him. He felt his mind go on autopilot as his feral instincts took over. Oi, Kakazu, dose that blonde brat have details. Hiden shouted as the battle began and drew every eye of the Konoha forces to Naruto, who was in his kitsune form. Kakazu's eyes widened, and fear gripped his H as he saw the Reikage casually waving 5 tails behind him. Hiden, don't underestimate any of these people. If we want to survive this, go all out from the start. After summoning his clones, Naruto wasted no further time as his Sage mode was amplified by the power of his lightning armor. Clouds filled the sky as Naruto disappeared in a loud crackle of blue lightning. The blue blur, accompanied by the hum of potent electricity, appeared in front of a date who was in his chakra cloak. Lightning and water masks took their place on each of Kakazu's shoulders after he removed his cloak. Steel-like threads erupted from his body and mouth and made him look like a monster of legend. Kakazu parried a sword slash from Itachi and dashed toward Mabui who was constructing a seal. The silver-haired beauty was sent flying by an earth-hardened fist, and she was only saved by Itachi grabbing Kakazu's attention. Mabui was recovering from the blow when Kakazu made his move. A water-style, water-colliding wave, was combined with a lightning-style, electromagnetic murder. The tidal wave was aimed at Mabui and Itachi acted instantly to protect her sister wife as much as she could as she appeared in front of her, and her Susanoo absorbed most of the impact of the impromptu tidal wave. Oh, Kakani, it is just 100 reinforcements. Kakashi growled sarcastically as he dropped another samurai off his blade. Stupid honorary little brothers, stupid Reikage. Yugito, covered in her 2-tailed cloak, just laughed as her extended claws ripped out the throat of a Konoha Chunin. Ha, quit your B. The position of laziest genius shinobi in Kumo is already occupied by Darui. Wait. A Konoha Jonin begged. Is that Kakashi? He stuttered out, which caused a noticeable flinch from Itachi, Yugito and the clones. Sure, Kakashi may have sun-kissed blonde hair now, but the gravity-defying nature of his hair combined with a sealed eye patch over his left eye was enough to give him away. Kakashi blurred forward with his hand encased in blue lightning. You just had to say it out loud. Kakashi groaned as the 20 surviving shinobi formed up and began muttering. Hitaki Kakashi, a recognizable Jonin, Alba, asked. I thought you did during the invasion, I helped lay your body to rest. Sup, Alba, I guess the jig's up. So, you fellas want to surrender? Kakashi asked while giving his trademark one-handed wave. Makubo Uchiha stepped forward, like hell, traitor. We are Konoha shinobi. Genin, run back to the next fort and inform them. He never got to finish his sentence as a bolt of lightning burned a hole in his neck and caused the head to roll off the shoulders. The Genin that he was looking at began running away. That was when a blue flash and a blue blur stopped the Genin and the remaining 18 shinobi went weak at the knees. The Raikage was eliminating their escape route. None of them were foolish enough to believe that they could survive a fight against such a man. I am not without mercy, and I don't detect any more Uchiha here. If you lay down your arms and surrender, you will be treated fairly under the international laws of warfare. If you refuse, Naruto growled menacingly with his tails flipping around lazily behind him. Alba, being the ranking officer, dropped his kunai which caused the others to follow suit. We surrender. Konoha Council 6 weeks into the war. Fugaku was growling at the latest status updates. He never thought that Konoha would be so inept when it came to waging war. Of course, he had properly pissed off most of the world, but they were ceding territory far too quickly. They had lost nearly half of Wind Country, which he didn't really care about. Kumo had pushed 10 miles into the northern border, and they were still unable to crack Wave's defenses. He may consider himself a god, but that didn't mean he could fight every battle at once. The loss of the Three Tails will set us back greatly. Black Zetsu said in a growl. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Fugaku growled back. Danzo frowned at the interaction, the Ruta holding the Kumo forces at bay. The Raikage hasn't appeared since the initial battle. The fact that Hiden, Kakazu and Adate were taken out in one battle was a huge blow. We spread our strongest forces too thin and the Raikage capitalized on it. Fugaku nodded while frowning. We will keep the remaining Jinchuriki together with Kisame. The question becomes where to use them and how to use the new Zetsu army. Their countermeasures for Zetsu on fixed locations makes them less than useful. I say that we have the Zetsu tunnel within Lightning Country and divide their attention. I still believe Wave is the most important linchpin. We could launch an all-out attack on Wave to get a footing within the elemental ocean. Danzo offered. Meanwhile, my route will conduct guerrilla warfare against the Iwa forces to halt their advance. We use the samurai and shinobi forces to counter Am and Kumo. So far, they have proved unwilling to slaughter vast numbers. Fugaku growled and nodded. I think I need to get involved. If they are going to resist, then they need to learn to fear a god. Where should I go? Black Zetsu offered his opinion. Hanzo the Salamander is a legend, and he is the key leader for Am. If they lose him, then that will alleviate the pressure from the northwest. Fugaku got a big grin on his face. I have mastered the Rinnegan. Danzo, use your route in Wind Country. Zetsu, can you tunnel me into Am? Black Zetsu frowned. They will know we are there as soon as we surface. The rain detects foreign chakra signatures all throughout the nation. Fugaku waved him off. I just need you to get me in and extract me. I want to test my new Rinnegan powers. Danzo nodded. Hit and run. Why not do that against Kumo? Zetsu answered in a pout. The seals along their border prevent any tunneling. I have not been able to get my clones in ever since they analyzed the clones I sent to Kiri. Fugaku grimaced at that. We counted on the Zetsu clones being able to inflict more damage than they have. Their impact has been minimal. I told you the risk of picking a fight against a seal master. Black Zetsu chided. Whatever, let's go deal with the sniveling fools on the council. Fugaku ended the only tactical discussion he cared about. Unlike Fugaku's intelligence network, Naruto now had a string of dissenters promised amnesty should they provide intelligence to him. Alba was the first dissenter, then Chooser Akamiki, then Asuma Sarutobi. Asuma offered his allegiance and only asked that the Sarutobi clan be spared Naruto's wrath. After hearing about the treatment of the Sarutobi by the Uchiha, Naruto easily agreed to that. Long story short, crows, eagles and dissenters using communication scrolls made Naruto's intelligence nearly absolute. Things were going well on all battlefronts. The only one to truly stall out was Am, but that was only because that was the plan. The terrain between Am and Fire Country made it difficult to advance the battlefield. Even the salamander summons had difficulty penetrating the mile of no man's land that was saturated with traps. Thus, Hanzo was content to stall things out and let the other fronts advance. The greatest gains were made along Kumo's border. The air attacks by eagles and crows were supremely effective for the first month, but every fort now had a mulud of anti-air ballista. Naruto didn't want to needlessly risk his clan. The eagles were family and Naruto had already talked to Miraka about it. The eagles were, are, and always will be warriors, but Naruto didn't need them winning his war for him. So, eagles were being withdrawn from airborne assaults and they were providing scouting reports and transportation of key members. Naruto's plan was to use Yugito and Gaara to launch debilitating attacks with the Biju to crack the fort's defenses. However, those plans had to be delayed in light of new intelligence. The massive swell of troops towards Wave Country demanded his attention and he was meeting the shift in troop movements piece for piece. He was also going to join in this battle. Wave counted as a home of his and he loved the people of Wave. Thus, if Fugaku wanted a decisive battle, then Naruto would give him a crippling defeat. The best part about controlling the elemental ocean was the ease with which troops could be moved. Marine travel was far quicker than travel by foot, especially when samurai were being moved. Thus, Naruto was easily able to deploy forces to counter Konoha and he was truly going to make this a battle to remember. What is the plan, Reikage-sama? Yugito asked on behalf of all those listening. Naruto stood and let loose a truly feral smirk. I think their camp is in for a truly stormy night. The defenses are composed of 3 main forts that are all within 5 miles of the bridge. Their bases are not big enough to house the number of troops he has stationed there, much less the influx of troops. I am going to let loose. Truly let loose. If the fool believes himself a god, then I will show him how mortal he is. Sochi, Kushina whined, I don't want that on your conscience. Naruto looked around the room after acknowledging his mother's statement. Let me make this clear. Everyone I love is in this room. My sweat, tears, and soul are connected to each of you. For you, I would do anything. I am still very much human, but I would do anything with the power I have for the ones I love. If I can spare the lives of my men, then shouldn't I do so? If I can shoulder the hate and grief that will linger in Hai no Kuni, then shouldn't I do so? Naruto paused here and took a breath. Would me doing this make you love me any less? No, was the emphatic response from those attending the meeting, which was echoed by Hikari within the mindscape. We love them, and we love you, Reikage-sama. Mabui said on behalf of the room. Hey, yo, little bro. You know I got your back, for you to hell and back, there ain't a thing I wouldn't do, because Reikage-sama, I love you. B said and for once his raps earned cheers from everyone. Kushina nodded with a sad smile, I just want you to be happy, Sochi. Naruto beamed a smile and wrapped the Azukage, his mother, in a hug. You all are my happiness. Just be ready to clean up. Kushina nodded sadly, we will be ready. Naruto got serious once more, I am giving you the Eastern Fort. Rado said that he would proudly carry you, but he cautioned that he cannot carry your transformed state. Yugito and Gaara, Georgia said she is your girl and offered the same warning. Each of you are to hit and run. Just take out the walls and shake 'em up. Your job is not to end the fight, but simply start it. Gaara bowed, yes, Reikage-sama. Kushina beamed a smile, I don't mean to interrupt, but to motive your partners, well, we got word back from Makai. The dimensional separation is failing. Isabu has joined the resistance against the Orcs and Minotaur, and they are holding steady. Let's just wrap this up in a bow. Naruto nodded, thanks for the update. In time, the demonic clans will make for good allies. For now, we cannot count on their support due to the intensity of their own war. One step at a time. Supposed time of attack is in 3 days. That means 2 nights from now we will strike first. For all handlers of dissenters, tell them to get the hell out of Dodge on that night. Yes, Raikage-sama, the room chorused. Kushina walked up to Naruto after the meeting and embraced him in a hug. Your father says he is proud of you, Sochi. Also, he is so cute as a kitsune. He can't transform yet, but he is so cute. She finished in a girly squeal. Naruto patted his mother's head. Good to know, Ka-chan. I sent him the pictures of our grandchildren with Kitsubi. Sumbi said that Minato cried for hours. I can't wait for the rest of them to pop out. Naruto chuckled. How is Rias doing after the birth? Will she forgive me for only sending a shadow clone? Kushina nodded. Baby Lena is so cute. Just like her mama. She has your whisker marks as well. Hikari formed next to Naruto and hugged Kushina. Yes, well, I am pleased with our family. It has gotten a little out of hand, but he still has a way to go to best King Solomon. Naruto blushed abashedly. Ri-chan. Kushina shrugged it off. I am the happiest grandma ever. Plus, I get all of my best friends as part of the family. Could King Solomon keep all of his wives so happy? Hikari blushed this time. No, he could not. Your son is just that special. By the way, Ruto, if you encounter another Jinchuriki there is a good chance that you could finish off your 6th tail. The chakra chains drain the yokai astoundingly fast and that pathetic Uchiha provided about a third of your 6th tail. Isabu said it was a fair price to pay for his freedom too. Naruto beamed a smile at that. Then let's go hunt him down. You said with 6 tails that you could be freed permanently. Hikari shook her head. It would lay you out for weeks, Ruto. I want my freedom, but I can wait a little bit more. Plus, I have grown rather attached to our soul link. I want to keep pushing our synchronization and see how far it will go. You are almost 3/4 demon now and that means that we could be together forever. Naruto paused at the new release of information. Why have I turned more demonic? Why is this the first I am hearing about it? Hikari frowned at the subdued response. Well, I just figured it out. The why is likely because of the amount of yokai you are harboring. The potency of the chakra has integrated into your system. Why are you not happy about this? Naruto fought back tears at the thought. I have grown so attached to all of my girls. I don't know if I would want to live forever without them. Hikari bonked Naruto on the head. Did you forget what I did to your father? With the dimensional barrier weakening, it will be even easier for me to do that. It is a costly procedure, but I will do it for you, Ruto. So, don't think like that, okay? Naruto nodded weakly and hugged Hikari. You know, I barely even felt the drain from you manifesting this time. Hikari nodded into the hug. You are so much stronger than I ever thought you would become. I am so proud to be your Ruto. I love you so much and that love extends to each one of my sisters. We will find a way, my love, just like we always do. Kushina joined the hug. I will be with you all the way as well, Sochi. The next day, Naruto flashed to Wave Country. The citizens were all evacuated to Azushio at the start of the war. They readily agreed to it, which made turning Wave into a true military outpost easier. The ports were full of military ships from Kumo, Kiri, Azu and even a couple ships had Iwa and Am banners. It was proof of the international cooperation occurring. As Naruto arrived, murmurs spread rapidly through the island and soon the command headquarters was surrounded by off-duty shinobi and kunoiki that wanted to catch a glimpse of their Raikage. Naruto walked out onto the balcony to address his troops while flanked by the divine bolts. He didn't have a speech planned, but he figured he may as well inspire his forces. After silence settled over the island, Naruto projected his voice with chakra and began his impromptu address. Hello everyone, ain't this a beautiful sight? I see Kumo, Azu, Kiri, Am and even some Iwa here. That was what I wanted to see. Our alliance is a blessing, and our just war is our righteous cause. Naruto stopped as chanting began, and overwhelming positivity flooded the area. Once it calmed down, he continued, this impending battle will be a decisive moment in this war. Once we break through this border, the death bell begins tolling for Konoha. I will say the same thing I said at the beginning of the war. Our enemies are the shinobi, samurai and corrupt politicians of Hai no Kuni. We will not sink to their level, we will not rape and pillage, we will not burn and destroy needlessly. We will prove to every citizen of Hai no Kuni that we are the better men. The following 30 minutes was full of raucous cheers that shook the island. He hoped the barriers would be able to hold and mute all the increased activity. That being said, even Fuinjutsu had its limitations. As the day dragged on, the tension grew as men and women prepared themselves for combat. It hung in the air like a fart in an unventilated room. It settled over everyone as they dealt with the possibility of their own deaths and the gruesome images to come. By 8 p.m., ships were loaded silently, and they prepared their angles of attack for the assault. The bridge contained shinobi that were lined up shoulder to shoulder in preparation for the battle march once the signal was given. The reinforcements remained in a quiet formation behind the bridge. An unsettled quiet hung over the island once the sun set. Naruto walked out of the command headquarters with Gaara, Yugito and B. They each had their assigned tasks, and they had each hardened their resolve. Virginia, Georgia and Rado were already waiting for them outside the building. Naruto gave each of them hugs and words of encouragement. Samui and Mabui mounted Virginia with Naruto. Kankuro, Temari and Itachi joined Gaara and Yugito on Georgia. B hopped on top of Rado with C, Anko and Tayuya. Each of the support riders would continue airborne operations once the defenses crumbled. The hard hitters would dismount and launch the opening assault while the support covered the retreat with a variety of tags that were attached to kunai. Once atop Virginia, Naruto gave the final nod to Kushina, who was holding down the HQ and controlling the battlefield. As the three eagles took to the air, shinobi around the island closed their eyes and offered up the prayers. The eagles climbed high to start with. Naruto needed Sage Mode and he was going to use the power of the storms. After circling the island a couple times, Georgia and Rado broke off for their assigned bases. Thunder began rumbling as storm clouds formed behind Naruto. The night sky darkened as the clouds blackened and lightning flashed erratically through the clouds. Naruto held the rain back as long as he flew over wave, but he would not restrain the storms for his enemies. Might Guy originally volunteered to remain behind in Konoha to take Kakashi's place as the inside man. Everybody underestimated him because they couldn't see past his mask. That being said, Guy had pulled Lee, Neji and Tenten out of the camp for a patrol. Lee was already committed to departing from the unyouthful Konoha. Tenten was ready to do the same, but she wouldn't leave without her father that was stuck serving as a blacksmith for the Uchiha. Neji was obstinate and unlikely to go along with the plan, but Guy didn't want to see him die. Guy knew the impending battle would be a terrible one and he didn't want any of his precious students to get caught up in it. The patrol took Team Guy down towards a port town that was struggling due to the prolonged embargo. A deep rumble of thunder that followed a flash of lightning drew Guy's attention to the west. He knew what that meant, and he stopped to watch the light show. Guy and his students would remain fixed in place as they watched the terrifying display of natural power that ensued. Naruto synchronized with Hikari while in Sage Mode and his control over the storm intensified as his potent yokai spread out among the clouds. Virginia, as a sage in training, was nearly drunk on the overwhelming amount of natural energy that was hovering around her. The crackle of energy in the air was intoxicating to her, but the pat on her neck from her summoner snapped her out of it. She dove from over a mile in the air as Naruto shaped the natural energy with the dive. This was the first time they were going to use the most devastating jutsu in the eagle's arsenal. Naruto clapped his hands together and eyes closed as the winds roared around him. He loved the feeling of terminal velocity as Virginia dove. He sheltered his girls in a wind barrier and used his control over the storm to form it around him. The eagle with a 200-meter wingspan made of wind and lightning formed around him easily. The 10 smaller eagles that dove behind him pushed his concentration to the max. As they broke through the low-hanging Eulonimbus clouds, the world froze as thousands of eyes locked onto Sage Art, Wrath of the Screaming Eagles. The wind and lightning chakra looked ethereal as the battle cry of the eagles echoed for miles around. The last 300 meters of the descent was over in mere seconds as Virginia banked out of the dive like a majestic fighter jet. The 11 elemental eagles continued their trajectory as one massive and 11 smaller explosions erased the central fort off the map in a terrifyingly majestic display of power. The explosion of light, chakra, electricity and wind rose nearly 150 meters into the air. The explosions blossomed together and formed into a dome of blinding chakra light that sent a mushroom cloud up into the cloud cover. As if the heavens wanted to honor the fearsome display, sheets of rain began pouring down and lightning flashed all over the area. Thunder echoed like a battle drum, and everything happened at once. 3 Bijudama impacted 2 forts as 3 perfect Jinchuriki wielded the deadly power with practiced ease. Shukaku and Matatabi were determined not to be outdone by Naruto while B was just letting Gyuki see loose a bit. The eastern and western forts, already stunned by the storm and majestic explosion, erupted in twin explosions as Bijudama crashed into their outer walls. The twin explosions were the go signal for the marine forces that jumped out of their ships and used water walking to make their landings. Naruto recovered from the dive and Virginia made her way to the main encampment of the reinforcements. Naruto felt the full transformations as Biju Yokai saturated the landscape and called out to his sage mode. Moments later, the Bijudama erupted and proved that things were going according to plan. With that, Naruto focused on the task at hand. Once again, Virginia climbed into the air, but this was going to be a controlled dive that would let Naruto use one of the jutsu he had been saving. As the controlled dive began, Naruto channeled chakra throughout his body and tails. His tails began glowing as tempest chakra began forming in each of them. Naruto kept his hands clasped together to focus this jutsu after he went through the hand signs. His tails began glowing brighter and he brought them up over his head as the tempest chakra formed into a ball over his head. Naruto's eyes snapped open as the dive got him into range and Virginia let out a menacing shriek that told Naruto it was time to let loose. The ball of chakra turned into a supercharged beam that was nearly 10 meters in diameter. The laser of Tempest Chakra tore a destructive line from the front gate through the center of the encampment. As the Tempest beam made contact with the ground, the chakra dispersed in an explosion rather than digging into the earth. The chakra blossomed into a series of devastating explosions that ripped a destructive line through the encampment as Virginia leveled out and flew over the camp. Mabui and Samui each had clones that were helping them to throw out explosive tags. The smaller explosions that erupted on either side of the destructive trench sowed further death and chaos on the gathering of samurai and shinobi. After the first swipe, Virginia banked and circled around for another run at the camp. Naruto calmed his chakra and prepared himself for his next role during the next couple runs while his girls rained death down on the encampment. Ruto, you are good to go. Your reinforcements are 10 to 15 minutes out. The signatures you feel are 3 of the remaining Jinchuriki and the big one must be Kisame. Hikari said as she was fully synced with Naruto's senses. Naruto frowned, that was more than I was expecting. Hikari agreed, there is no need to put yourself in such a position without backup. Why not retrieve B, Gaara and Yugito? That would more than enough to even the odds. Naruto agreed with that and let his girls know that he would be right back. The 3 Jinchuriki didn't even question things when Naruto showed up amidst the sheets of rain and stormy skies in a blue flash. They each flashed with him back atop Virginia as she was pulling out of another run. Ginny, that is enough. They are starting to form up and it seems like they have a plan for the Eagles now. Drop us in back of the camp and we will go on foot from there. Sammy and Mabui, stay with Ginny. The high allude tags will work until reinforcements arrive. You 3, on me. Yes, Reikage-sama, the chorist. B, I have you against Kisame. Be wary of Samehada and you should be fine. Gaara, I want you on crowd control. I know it is harder to control your sand in the storms, but I have faith in you. Yugito, you are with me on the Jinchuriki. Sasuke was scowling at the current state of affairs. His father was smart not to put him and his men within the forts. He could already tell that the forts were a lost cause. Nothing could survive those explosions. In fact, Sasuke was pretty damned intimidated by the man he used to consider a rival. Naruto Uzumaki was always a source of motivation when Sasuke was training. Despite that, Sasuke knew that he could not stand against the man. That was why he was surrounded by the strongest shinobi in Konoha. Sasuke activated the loyalty seals on each of his compatriots. He wasn't going to take a chance of them chickening out of this fight. If they lost this fight, then the war was as good as lost. He already ordered Zetsu to bring the creatures here to reinforce the camp. He just needed to rally the camp and begin the assault on Wave prematurely. His father should have known better than just leaving forts and encampments for the Reikage to pick off. Everyone is to stay on me. We will find their forces and eliminate them. Unseal the ballista scrolls and get them set up. A samurai general ran over to Sasuke's group. There are thousands of shinobi pouring off the bridge and multiple ships. They are moving, my lord, he said as he bowed to Sasuke. Sasuke grunted, gather our remaining forces and prepare them to engage. We should still outnumber them 3-1. They are just using scare tactics. The rain pelted Sasuke's face and those in his group flinched as lightning flashed all around them. Through the storm, Sasuke's M's flared and spun wildly. This was more than enough to make the samurai general move out. Kisame hitched Samehada over his shoulder. Well, I joined Yal for the chance for a good fight. Looks like we got that chance. 4 thuds sounded above the rain and caused the group of Uchiha Jinchuriki and Kisame to turn around. Sasuke instantly scowled when he saw who was in front of him. The Raikage and Hachibi Jinchuriki towered over the other two in the group. Their massive frames illuminated by the non-stop flashes of lightning that were always accompanied by the menacing rumble of thunder. If it isn't the little, pathetic, insignificant little D that I nearly put down in Iwa. Tell me, boy, do you wish to D tonight? Naruto said with his arms crossed in front of his chest. The tension grew as the standoff set in. The nearby explosions of crashes of thunder were enough to make the shinobi flinch. Sasuke scowled as Kisame snickered, I have gotten stronger since then, traitor. I have been itching for a rematch. Naruto waved a hand in front of his chest. Nah, you are still as pathetic as the day I severed your hands. Your papa gave you his eyes, that power isn't yours. Your papa also gave you Son Goku and I imagine your eyes borrow his power. Naruto tapped his chin here. Yeah, I think you are just a compendium of borrowed power, you pathetic b-boy. Kisame's snickering was getting out of hand before he was silenced with a hand sign from Sasuke, who was scowling deeply. The red of his Sharingan glowing in the night along with the fires that dotted the encampment. Sasuke growled, says the man that grew up on the Kyuubi's power. Look at you. B started laughing before he broke into a rap. That ain't the power of the Kyuubi, nah, that little lady just let it be. What you see in front of you, is my man Naruto, the Hanyu. Naruto cracked his neck. What he said. Tetsu Uchiha, Jinchuriki of the Rokubi, asked, what did he say? Yugito stepped in and growled at the Uchiha. He said that Raikage-sama earned all of his power. When you K him, he came back as a Hanyu, and he worked for every ounce of the power he possesses. Unlike your coward of a father and Cage. Naruto held up a hand before the Uchiha group could overreact. Sasuke, it seems like you want a rematch. Let's go then, little B. Prove to me that you are more than some pathetic amalgamations of borrowed power. This caused everyone to lower into fighting stances. B took out 2 of his katanas while Yugito pushed chakra into the seals on her hands which caused her gauntlets to appear. Naruto just remained standing with his arms crossed and Gaara had uncorked his gourd. 4 Sharingan eyes looked back at them and many genjutsu were shattered effortlessly by Naruto's dense chakra that was beginning to flare up. The standoff was broken by a flash of lightning that crashed into the ground in between the two groups and the Raikage disappeared in a blur. He grabbed Itsuo, the Jinchuriki of the Chome, and Sasuke, Jinchuriki of Son Goku, by the necks and disappeared in a blur. Rather than move out of the camp, Naruto directed his momentum to the center of the camp. He jumped in the air with each Jinchuriki caught in a double lightning lariat. He spun wildly and tossed the 2 Uchiha encased in stage 1 Biju cloaks down into the center of the camp. The explosion of mud, dirt and earth in the center of the camp was soon followed by one of Naruto's jutsu projects. Ever since recovering his father's scroll, he was determined to incorporate each of his elements into his father's creation. The Raisin Shuriken hummed to life in a screech of wind in his right hand and he hurled the jutsu down towards the newest crater. The blue sphere that was encased in a white layer of wind chakra and had 3 rotating wind blades on it tore through the storm towards their targets. Naruto formed a clone and passed off the unconscious body of Itsuo. This was the battle he wanted. This was the revenge he wanted. There was the opponent he wanted to crush. Hikari couldn't agree more, and she opened the valve to the soul link and pushed more of her potent yokai through it. Once again, Naruto's Hanyu features flared up and the Tempest Shroud erupted around him. The glowing, deep blue eyes glared through the rain and wind and pierced Sasuke's soul. Despite the influence of Son Goku's yokai and the hatred granted to him by the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, Sasuke's H was seized by fear. You know, Sasuke. I took these from you once already, but I think I will learn my lesson. Naruto growled as his Hanyu instincts were getting the better of him. Kisame stood protectively over the Uchiha as a plant creature emerged from the ground. Black Zetsu made the immediate decision to wrap itself around Sasuke before it disappeared into the ground. That whole process took less than 10 seconds, in which time B appeared in a tornado of flashing katanas as he used his Akurobuto Kenjutsu style to put Kisame on the defensive. Naruto sighed and knew that B was fully immersed in his fight against Kisame. Thus, he formed 20 shadow clones to form a defense perimeter around B and Kisame's fight before he blurred into motion. Naruto was able to reel in his B and he decided that enough people had D today. He unsealed 2 greatsword-sized bokken, wooden training swords, that were reinforced with seals before he engaged the shinobi. Naruto whistled and Virginia landed amongst the crumpled forms of shinobi and samurai within the crater. Naruto hopped on her back, and she hovered into the sky. He used his connection to the storm to silence it and the rain ended abruptly, followed by the thunder and lightning. A disturbing calm encompassed the decimated encampment. Naruto used his chakra to project his voice. Shinobi and samurai of Hai no Kuni, if you drop your arms and cease your resistance, you will be treated humanely as prisoners of Omegacor under the international laws of warfare. Enough B has been spilt and far too many souls have been sent to the Shinigami on this night. Let this be the end of this battle. A battle cry from the allied forces rocked the night air as loud as any of the thunderclaps that had accompanied the devastating storm. The night ended with 2,200 prisoners of war taken. It would later be determined that thousands of shinobi and samurai lost their lives on this night. It was the single B night of battle in shinobi history with 4,800 lives lost, 4,400 of which were on Hai no Kuni's side. The nearly 400 allied casualties were honored by the Raikage himself presiding over the international funeral. The heroes' cemetery in Wave Country would later be visited by shinobi of all nations to pay respects to the lives lost in the most decisive battle of shinobi history. The night also removed 2 of Fugaku's Jinchuriki while Sasuke and Tetsu were able to flee. That just left Son Goku and Saiken out of Naruto's control. Kisame Hoshigaki and his fellow sword Samehada were also conquered on this night, which removed the last missing nin that composed the Akatsuki. It was a crippling blow that would break the will of the alliance in short time. Omegacor, morning after Battle of Wave. Amy, Darui and a full division of shinobi were pulled from the front lines to respond to the urgent request for reinforcements from Omegacor. They traveled through the night after the emergency reinforcement request reached them. None of them were ready for what they encountered after they traveled across the lake to get to the capital city of Omegacor. Smoke was still billowing into the sky and fires yet burned as the ships landed at the destroyed port harbors on the edges of the island. Omegacor no Sato was an industrialized village that specialized in the processing of iron and steel. The city boasted far more industrial capabilities than most of the 5 great nations, and this was where Am found its success. However, the buildings that had previously reached tens of stories into the sky were now crumbled messes of shattered stone. The once great city looked like it was rocked by a great explosion that originated from its center. The crater at the center of the city radiated outwards all the way to the edge of the island in the middle of the lake. Amy ran through the shattered cityscape and jumped over the piles of rubble as she made her way to the Hattori compound. Tears filled her eyes as she ran past groups of shinobi attempting to excavate citizens and shinobi that were buried and trapped in the rubble. Wails escaped her mouth as she approached the destroyed walls that surrounded her family's compound. She fell to her knees in tears when she saw the sobbing form of her mother sitting on a pile of rubble. She looked around and couldn't see her father anywhere, she couldn't feel her father's chakra anywhere, and that thought filled her with fear. Amy picked herself off her knees and dashed to her mother. Mother and daughter wrapped themselves in each other's embrace as tears poured freely out of the ducts. The survivors of the Hattori clan surrounded the heads of their clan, and the scene garnered the attention of some of the surrounding shinobi. Amy was so overwhelmed by her emotions that she didn't process the blue flash of light, and it wasn't until she felt the warm embrace of her loving husband that she realized he was there. Naruto looked around in amazement and abject horror at the shattered cityscape of his allied village. He forced his emotions down and stowed them away for later processing so that he could be there to support his wife. She desperately needed him now more than ever. Naruto continued to envelop his wife and mother-in-law in a tender embrace as he looked around for a commanding officer. Sure enough, Conan appeared in a flutter of paper sheets and gave him a solemn look. Naruto left the mother and daughter to their mourning to get briefed on what happened. Conan bowed her head to Naruto. Thank you for responding so quickly, Raikage-sama. Please come with me to the command tent and we will provide a full report. Good to see you two will be okay. Naruto began, where is Hanzo and what happened here? Yahiko frowned when Hanzo's name was mentioned and Nagato visibly flinched. The Hokage appeared alone within the city along with one of those plant creatures. Our rain sensory field picked up him, but by the time the first shinobi responded he was hovering in air above the city. We felt a significant amassing of chakra which at least allowed those of us experienced enough to put up some defenses. Moments later, a wave of gravity exploded and did most of the damage to the city. Naruto remained in a respectful silence as he listened to the report. He simply gave a nod and said, continue. Nagato took over, the damage was astronomical, and everything was in a state of chaos. Despite that, Hanzo-sama engaged the enemy in single combat. He fought the Hokage alone for 15 minutes before we were able to join the fight. It appears like the initial jutsu caused a backlash because the Hokage did not use gravity again for a full 20 minutes after the initial attack. Despite that, the Hokage fought off Hanzo and crippled him. That was when we engaged in the fight. The Hokage summoned multiple different animal summons that began wreaking havoc and Conan handled those. We fought against the man but realized quickly that he could absorb chakra, he could alter his body and he had some power that incapacitated our shinobi by just touching them. Yahiko picked up here. After fighting Fugaku for a couple minutes, Fugaku got his gravitational powers back. He just held out his hand and Hanzo was pulled to him. What happened next? I don't know how to say it. It was like he ripped Hanzo-sama's soul out. Hikari chimed in here through the link. That is the power of the human path and that is bad. That allowed Fugaku to get access to all of Hanzo's memories, which means he knows everything Hanzo knew. Naruto frowned up hearing that, but he relayed it to the group. The revelation made them pale, and it simultaneously enraged them. Naruto held up his hand and did his best to contain his anger. Despite his best efforts, a deep blue aura began surging from Naruto. I believe the time for pleasantries and kiddie gloves has passed. I will go directly to Konoha and take the fight to Fugaku. What I saw outside cannot be tolerated. What I saw outside is beyond a war crime. I will destroy Fugaku, the Uchiha clan and Konoha. It is time for this to end. Nagato took over. Naruto, please don't. The power of the Rinnegan is truly terrible. If you fought against it in a fair fight, I believe you could win. However, if you fight alone and behind enemy lines then it could cost you your life. Naruto took a deep breath as he sensed the genuine concern among his friends. Fine. I have news from Wave. We have eliminated the obstacles in our way. We have full access to Northern Fire Country. We will rally, get help and then we will press. The time for defensive operations has passed. We have captured 3 of their Jinchuriki and removed the Akatsuki from the board. I will issue a demand for a final surrender and if they disregard that then I will decimate the Hidden Leaf Village. That seems fair. Conan said simply as she sat down in between her 2 lovers and took each of their hands. I would ask you to wait so that we could be part of that offensive. Naruto frowned at that. I don't know about that. If Fugaku is going to resort to these tactics, then waiting could cost us thousands of lives. After he learns about the defeat in Wave, he will get even more desperate. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.